Hi guys, Ian here, welcome to another video and to my channel, and today I want to ask you a question that's been asked to me a number of times and recently, which has prompted this video. And the question is this: so what are you then? Now, the person asking the question is referring to what am I spiritually. Now, you know, we have a need, don't we? We have this need to define and to compartmentalize someone as being something or the other. So I guess what they're asking is, what are you? Are you a Christian? Are you an atheist now? Are you a mystic? Are you a witch? Are you a Kabbalist? What are you? People like to know. And I've always been of the opinion that to define ourselves is to limit ourselves, and to kind of define ourselves is to place ourselves in a box. So I have not tended to do that, despite people wanting to know, so that they can sort of fit us into a pigeonhole that they have reserved for people who are atheists, or who are occultists, or who are. But I've been asking myself lately, you know, are there any benefits to defining ourselves as one thing or another, or as defining ourselves as a combination of things, but at least naming ourselves to ourselves? So why do I think that, and why do I think there might be some benefits? Now again, I'm speaking for myself personally, and we can only ever speak for ourselves, can't we, in terms of our own experience and what helps or hinders us in our practice. But what I am beginning to see is that to name ourselves as something, to define ourselves, yes, whilst it can limit us in a sense, it doesn't have to, but it does put us in a framework of something that can be quite useful to us. So if you're watching my video, I'm guessing it's because you are either, you know, many years down the path of spiritual seeking, or you may be new to the spiritual path, but there's something within you that wants to know more about the world behind the world in which you live. And there are many paths to one goal, but to get to that goal requires us to go through certain learning experiences. Certain experiences, I think, that teach us, that expand our consciousness, that help us to see things in a way that we didn't before, to understand things in a way that we didn't before, to have an appreciation of all of the things that make up life and existence that we didn't have before, to have an experience of our own experience of what divinity is. Now, whether that is a god, or whether it's gods, whether it's just a great force, whatever it is to you, that you discover that you become in tune with that. And in order to get there, you don't just get there from one day waking up thinking I want to know more, to being at the place where you eventually want to be, enlightenment, for want of a better word. There are processes to which, and experience to which we have to go. Now, one of the benefits of defining ourselves as something is, as I say, that we can slot into a framework, and depending on what we define ourselves as, that framework is going to be different. So, for example, now, as I've mentioned to you in many of my videos, I come from a Christian background. Since I was very young, I've always been a loner. I've always been very introspective, withdrawn myself to a great degree from the crowd. I'm one for inner work, for contemplation, for exploration of the inner worlds and of wanting to know the nature of divinity. Now, a lot of those characteristics are characteristics of the mystic. Now, when we think of the mystic, we might think of the hermit, and the tarot card, or we might think of the Indian gurus. And one of the characteristics of the mystic is that they tend to withdraw themselves from life. The things of the flesh, so to speak, they distance themselves from those things so that they can put all of their effort in communing with divinity and learning those things and those practices and those processes that take them upwards to ascend as quickly as they can. Now, in terms of Kabbalistic theory, that this is like the path of the arrow, straight up the middle pillar, from Malkut straight up through the Sephira to Keter, not diverting to explore the other aspects of spirituality that lies in life and in living daily life. So the mystic will dedicate themselves to a certain kind of practice. Okay, then look at the witch, because I've noticed that my pleasure at being in nature, being in the forest, being in the woods, noticing plants, noticing the seasons, being in tune with the phases of the moon, the seasons, the gods, the goddess, that is a strong emerging desire within me. So I am becoming more witchy now than I ever was. And previously I would have said, no, I'm not a witch. But now, if I look at the things that I do, they are quite witch-like. And it's not only women who are witches, you have male witches. So I was kind of mostly mystic. Now I'm quite witchy. If you look at the Kabbalist, then there's a strong and definite structure into Kabbalistic learning, which is intellectual and spiritual. There's a discipline, there's a framework in which the Kabbalists work. I have a strong interest in Kabbalah too. You look at the Alchemist, and each of these disciplines, these spiritual disciplines, these natural spiritual disciplines, have a framework that the seeker within that discipline follows. So the benefit of defining ourselves is that we have a structure to follow, that we are not left stumbling around, I guess, and being dependent on whatever comes our way for the increase in our spiritual experience. Now, I am a firm believer that, the saying, like, when the student is ready, the teacher will appear. I really do believe that. And I don't think that anyone with a genuine desire to experience the mysteries of the universe will be left alone. If we ask genuinely, then we are given. But there are things that we can do to help ourselves, and we are expected to do that. So, yes, defining ourselves. I think there is some benefit to doing that, even if for a while it appears that we are limiting ourselves. So, it's good to think about what speaks to you, to notice, what makes a strong impression on you, and where your interests and where your heart lies at the moment. Where does it draw you? Now, it's unlikely that will always be the same place. And I have found, and I am finding, that I'm moving between I don't know what they are. It's not interests, but it's ways of spirit. And as I grow, I do see myself moving between the rays, you know, like the purple mystic ray, the green nature ray, and I do see myself moving between those, or perhaps more accurately, those elements of the rays that are within me are lighting up more. So that's what I wanted to share with you, that sometimes it's good to define ourselves and it's helpful. Okay, well, thank you for listening, guys. Great to chat with you, and see you all again soon. Bye for now.